and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here today. I'd also like to thank the team of Studio MM04, Sqetch, and the Beneficial Design Institute for a ride that has already been very informative and inspiring, despite the current many world pains we are facing. So what gives me the right to be here speaking to you today and calling for a regenerative circular economy? My name is Lavinia. I come from a tiny town in Western Germany, from a family who has always been discussing world issues at the dinner table and done things a little different. And I think that was also part of my education and an important part. And that is also the reason how I ended up doing what I'm doing, I think, bringing together the small local things and the big global things, and never stop asking questions. I worked as a sustainability consultant for many years and lately advocating for Germany's pioneer and ethical fashion, Armed Angels. I call myself a sustainability provocateur rather than an expert, because how can I call myself an expert in a field where the biggest challenge is still the huge knowing-doing gap? So in short, this is me, this is what I do. I love the urban city life. I love setting little fires everywhere I go. I love changing systems and good intention innovation. I also like and respect nature, but I must admit that I started loving nature very late in my young life. I am not one of the people who, as a child, animals spoke to me or plants, or gave me messages. I have always been a people's person and a people's advocate. But thanks to my job, I had the pleasure in recent years to work very closely with different farming groups in the Global South. And that is when I started receiving messages, not from nature directly, but from the people cultivating the precious soils. And that was also when I started understanding more and investigating and learning, and more importantly, unlearning what I had learned and relearning. And I wish to share that a little bit with you today. I hope that it will be an interesting talk with you, exploring the potential idea of regenerative circular systems beyond organic systems. Normally, I'm very loud and good at telling the industry what is going wrong, but today is different. It is also a little risky for me. So if I'm successful, my objective is motivational, and I wish to outline what different thinking and doing might entail. I will not start by explaining what regenerative systems are. I believe we all have a common understanding that regenerative systems, like the small graphic in my first slide of the presentation, seeks to go beyond simply minimizing damage, instead reversing doing harm and creating conditions for life to flourish, right? Good, guys. Next slide, please. So the other day, as part of my ongoing studies, I was reading Braiding Sweetgrass, Indigenous Wisdom, Scientific Knowledge, and the Teachings of Plants by Robin Wall Kimmerer, which I all recommend you to read, not only because of the scientific approach of the book, but also because of the beautiful storytelling which is applied. Robin Wall Kimmerer is a mother, a scientist, a decorated professor, and an enrolled member of the citizen Potawatomi Nation. Kimmerer is also the founder and director of the Center for Native Peoples and the Environment, whose mission is to create programs which draw on the wisdom of both indigenous and scientific knowledge for our shared goals of sustainability. In her book, Kimmerer writes about overseeing a study on the decline of sweetgrass, a plant traditionally harvested by Kimmerer's ancestors, the indigenous peoples present in the Great Lakes region of Canada and the United States. The study Kimmerer conducted revealed that the sweetgrass was suffering not from over-harvesting, but from under-harvesting. Yes, you heard right, under-harvesting. That is because the species had co-evolved with specific indigenous knowledge and harvesting practices, which in turn had specially evolved to increase the success of the plant. a very special kind of human attention, use, stewardship had become environmental and ethical factors on which the plants depended on. And without these things, they've begun to disappear. This way, Kimmerer explains that we are all linked in a co-evolutionary circle. The better the plant products, the more people tend to spread its seed and nurture the plants. Next slide, please. So what can we learn from Kimmerer's investigation in braiding sweetgrass? Well, the study suggests that the plants were dying from none other than a lack of, how may I call it, attention and proper care. And I believe in a world and an industry where survival is absolutely bound up with the survival of the ecologies in which we are embedded, it becomes clear that attention is what ensures our survival. While organic states the intention to promote ecological balance and conserve biological diversity, the system does not endeavor overall connections or rebuilding or regenerating. The study on sweetgrass, on the other hand, shows that combining indigenous knowledge and modern science results in truly circular and regenerative behavior and goes far beyond organic. I think regenerative and circular sustainability offers holistic approaches based on how thriving living systems function, and it addresses the root causes of unsustainability. The story also teaches us that systems should be viewed as wholes. None of the plants operates independently. They are interdependent and nested in other systems. So how do we implement this in our industry? I believe that investigation is only part of the tool set. It is not the only way to see the world. And I think we need to bring both together. Indigenous knowledge, or what is already there, and modern science and innovation. It may sound hard and unrealistic, but some pioneering companies have shown that it's possible. Unfortunately, my time is almost already over. Otherwise, I would give a couple of examples, but I leave that part of research to you guys. But just to give you some hints or some examples, check out what the Oshadi Collective is doing in India. I think they already talked during the summit. Or Farm from Brazil. Or check out the Forest Factory from Interface, the carpet manufacturer. All very awesome, innovative and proven examples of regeneration. Next slide, please. So to conclude, I would like to claim that practices of close attention will help us see nuanced ecologies of being, identity, and regenerative systems. This kind of understanding has a few important requirements I would like to outline here to provide some ideas of guidance other than the nice storytelling. So I think, first of all, it asks us to loosen our grip on the idea of A to B causalities for an entire industry. We need to stop applying this mindset to agriculture as well as other production steps. This way, we understand and start solving root causes. This way, we can also be more adaptable to change. Secondly, it requires humility and openness, because to seek regenerative context is already to acknowledge that we don't have the whole story yet. The sweetgrass study, I think, is a beautiful example of that. If you remember, people were not aware of the fact that the plant was under-harvested. And in combination with other plants, they learned that interdependence fuels life and welcomes diversity, which further creates resilience. And last but not least, third, we need restoration to reach circular and regenerative systems. this also took me a couple of years to understand properly, because in the beginning of my sustainability career, I was also focusing on quick fixes and doing things better than before, but I realized over time that this is not enough. We need to restore what we have broken and destroyed while thinking long-term. And we need to design inspired by nature and be clear that place dictates strategy. The sweetgrass study reveals how sweetgrass flourishes in this specific ecosystem in Oklahoma, America. But this ecosystem might change for a European or Arctic landscape where you plant the seeds. Pretty logic, right? So all in all, I think we need a new philosophy and a new attention economy. We need to put aside the idea that humans are separate from nature and see ourselves as part of the planet system. Taking on a holistic approach to design systems and thinking can help us understand how different elements relate to each other. And this helps us remember that the world is an interconnected web. Everything we design is part of a whole that has a wider social and ecological impact. As Robin Wall Kimmerer writes, in Potawatomi and most other indigenous languages, we use the same words to address the living world as we use for our families, because they are our family. And we are our family. So I hope this leaves an incentive to start acting for a regenerative economy. Thank you all very much.